Hello, all my fellow true crime junkies. This is Jill, the private investigator. And I'm back, guys. Let's start out by saying thanks and welcome. I'm glad you guys are back here with me. And I appreciate the views and the comments on the last video. Actually, guys, I felt kind of bad about that, and I almost took it down. And sometimes it still hits me. Should I take it down? Told you I'm a little bit of an empath. I'm trying to stop it. But I want to apologize to you guys. I haven't been on in a while because I've had a lot going on, a lot of things happening in my life. So I haven't been here. You know, this is a passion of mine. So I treat it as such. It's not a job. So it is a passion. But when you don't see me, don't think that I fell off the face of the earth. I'm still working. You just haven't seen my video yet. I haven't put it out yet. But don't ever think I dropped off, guys. I'm always still here. So I want to start covering other cases as well. I know this is by far from over with Suzanne Morphew. They're just now making an arrest. So we have a long road ahead of us on this one to seek justice and to find her body. But since we have a little bit of justice rolling in her direction, I think that maybe we should start speaking about other cases where there are missing people to where the families have no answers, no justice, no body, no nothing. So I'm going to start including other things in here so that maybe you guys can start up a conversation and we can find some answers for other people. One of the cases that I am working on currently is Dixie Barker from Ashland, Kentucky. Now, Dixie went missing in 1983, and I'm making a video on that. So stay tuned and look forward to it. Now, also, guys, I want to apologize for my earlier videos. All of my really new, the old, very first videos, I went back and rewatched one. Oh, it was so painful. It was so painful. I don't know how you guys stayed here quite long enough, but wow, I really appreciate you, and thank you so very much. Let me just tell you real quick why it was like that. A, I'm new. B, I'm computer illiterate. And C, it started out with a passion of many, many years. And I always used social media, but I had never created any content. Well, during the Chris Watts case, I decided that I wanted to. A friend of mine bought me a GoPro. That's all I had was a GoPro. I did not even have a computer to upload it. So I would record on my GoPro. Absolutely no way to edit on there. It was broken up into a few minutes apiece. I couldn't do anything about it. And I had to borrow a neighbor's computer to upload it. So, yeah, they are a little rough. And I'm extremely sorry. If I get the time, I will go back and edit those videos because they're ridiculously embarrassing. Now, let's get started here. Suzanne Morphew. Let me say, since I've been gone, Happy Mother's Day to her. Happy birthday to her. And congratulations on the justice rolling in her direction. We have Barry Morphew, now a resident of the Chaffee County Detention Center, exactly where he belongs, in my opinion. In my opinion, of course. So, I want to start with her family. Let's start with her brother and sister. They are crying out for Barry to please come forward and tell law enforcement where her body is. I completely respect and understand their stance on this, and I would do the exact same thing, I'm sure. But considering what we know of Barry and his egotistical personality, does anyone really see him doing that? I can't imagine him coming forward and saying, I lied. Yep, I did it. I lied, and I'm sorry. he's not that dude. I just don't see it unless he has a come to Jesus moment, and that's possible. And Melinda kind of touches on that a little bit, but unless that happens, I just don't see Barry telling where she's at. But considering he was so sloppy in what he did, let's hope that they can find her. And I also want to speak about that a little bit later on in the video, where I'm wondering about a certain place. So let's start with Melinda, her sister. She believes that there were financial pressures, and I think we all kind of knew that by his transactions, his monetary transactions immediately after she goes missing, within what, two months, the car is sold. Not even 2 months, and he was trying to sell a property in Indiana, and then the Airbnb on the home, then the Monarch Pass property. I mean, it was just like, it was going so fast that it was obviously ridiculous. So she says that they have financial pressures, and she goes on to say that financial pressures bear in on people very heavily. True, very true. She believes these pressures cause discontent and strife. True again. I think we all know that. Melinda speaks of the text as lengthy, powerful, and revealing. Now, just the little tidbits that she's let out, it's extremely revealing. Not very specific in what it's revealing, but it's revealing nonetheless. The text was sent on May 8th, on Friday. So, what had been going on that weekend? Or that week while the girls were gone? Melinda said that Suzanne was ready to share some things close to her chest. Can you imagine what all she had been keeping in for 26 years, living with a very domineering man that was also intimidating? Wow. And obviously someone said something to this judge about his intimidation tactics, because the judge was very, very clear to him. You can see your daughters, but absolutely no intimidating them at all. So he obviously has a history of this, and they were afraid that he might try to frighten them, I'm assuming. That's a scary thought in itself. Now, she had been ready to share some things, and she was scared. What was she afraid of exactly? Was she afraid that she was 49 years old, all the way across the country from everything she had ever known and loved, and the marital issues had just become too much and she had to start over? Was that frightening her? Or did she hear, see, or feel something coming, the end result, and that's what she was speaking of? Considering what happened, it's very easy to go there in your mind that that's what she was speaking of, but it might not be the case. This is all going to be very interesting when it comes out. Now, Suzanne, according to the Daily Mail, and I have not had time to look into this yet before I started recording, but the Daily Mail says that Suzanne had put on Facebook that right after she moved to Colorado, that the home in Arcadia had sold. Well, we all know that not to be true. Barry sold the Arcadia home after she went missing. So I think that speaks volumes of the privacy that Suzanne desired, maintained, and I think that it speaks volumes in itself. Now, Melinda also speaks about what their relationship was like. Now, this is very troubling for me, very troubling, considering there was 26 years of it. how it ended. I can't imagine what the suffering was in between time during those 26 years. And it sounds to me like it just was getting worse there at the end, obviously, with the financial pressures, etc. So she goes on to say, Barry was very dominant in the relationship, and Suzanne was very passive. Again, something that we all saw in the very beginning. And it didn't take much. It's not like Barry was on the news every day. It's not like Barry was on the news every month. Barry stayed hidden. And we didn't see much of him. When he first was interviewed with Lauren Sharf, it was just, here, take what I say, no audio and no video recorded of it. Well, then he got a little braver as he started to come out and defend himself. It wasn't coming out and, oh, my wife Suzanne, she's gone. He was coming out and, no, you, listen, you did that, listen, you did that. Kind of like his thing about Jeff Puckett. He spent 9 years in prison. He hopes he gets 9 years. And he is a felon and a meth head. Yeah, that aged like milk, didn't it, Barry? So we have Suzanne, who's very passive, and we have Barry, who's very dominant. All things that we assumed and knew by the very little. Now, take into consideration that we knew this from the teeny little bit we got from him. Can you imagine when he got comfortable with you behind the closed doors of his own home? That sounds miserable and frightening to me. Now, she says that Suzanne was a gentle soul. Again, I think we all knew that. I think we all assumed that and felt it. And I'd spoken to her friend Teresa Fountain quite a few times. And sweet Teresa had said on multiple occasions just how sweet and kind Suzanne was. She described her as meek. And I thought that was just perfect because everything I had seen or read, meek just fit her to a T. Now, Melinda goes on to say that Barry had a great tendency to overpower and intimidate people to get what they wanted. Now, I found that to be a very interesting choice of words, which I would like to dig a little further into, but just going by that, not getting into it too much. Intimidate people and overpower them. What had Melinda seen, or what dynamic had she been around or a part of that she witnessed this? Again, if you're witnessing this, imagine what goes on behind the closed doors of the home, where he's comfortable and feels, that nobody's watching, nobody can hear. It sounds terrible to me. So there's just so much to unpack here, guys. Lastly, Melinda speaks to the girls. I don't want to speak about the girls. I never really have spoken about the girls, just out of respect. They're very young. They're very afraid, hurt, unsure. The only parent that they have to cling to is their father right now. And he is their father, so I don't want to go there. But she goes on to speak to her girls. She says, Mallory, Macy, you are the heart and soul of your mother. She would never leave you. She would never forsake you. She loved you with her whole heart. And I think that was very sweet. It sounds very true. And I hope that they heard that, and I hope that they get in contact. Now, Melinda speaks about Sheriff Spacey. She speaks of his professionalism, his integrity, his kindness to the family. And I think that was really cool. These guys have worked really, really hard on this. And I just think it's really great that they're being so kind to the family, and the family feels so good about what they're doing. Now, Melinda urges Barry to tell authorities where the body is. Now, she also tells Barry that she loves him. And I can understand. It's 26 years, her niece's father. So that really struck me. She's a very forgiving woman, very loving, godly woman. It takes a lot to feel that way, to say those things about someone who you believe took your sister's life. That takes a lot. And I give her the respect that she deserves for it. Now, the lengthy text that she received on Friday, the 8th, she said that Suzanne told her, "I appreciate your love and transparency always." Did she envy Melinda's forwardness, maybe? And to just go ahead and, say it, not hold it in and be ashamed of it. And she said that Melinda thinks that the move was premature, that she did not think that they had all their ducks in a row for what they were wanting going out there. And it's a very sad situation. Now, I felt she was maybe making a move that she needed to be a little more thoughtful, as Melinda said. So she thinks she should have thought about it more and maybe, I don't know, made it a more solid move, maybe get the marriage worked out and then move. But she said that she thought she needed to be a little more thoughtful about it. I personally think that maybe he also, considering, he seems to be the head of the household type guy. So Melinda was concerned that Suzanne was giving up a lot of security, stability, familiarity with the people that she knew. I mean, just, she's walking into a place where she knew absolutely no one. And she was afraid for her, especially going in with a broken marriage on a rocky foundation like that. I can completely see the concern. And the concern was obviously valid looking at the outcome now. Now, because she goes on to say that she thought she was trying to fix some brokenness with their relationship with some geographical change, that rings true also, because I'm sure at one point or another, most of us have been in relationships where we have felt that way. If we could just move and get away from this house, things would be so much better. But it usually doesn't work, because when you pack up all your furniture, you're packing your problems and everything else. When you move and move your life, all your problems are coming with you. But there is that wonderful, fantasy thought of if only. And I'm sure with a 26-year marriage, who wouldn't give it that last-ditch effort try? Now, Melinda said she knew when she got the call that Suzanne was missing, that she was no longer with us. And she was also confident that her brother-in-law was responsible. Again, I would love to know what she had been witness to form these sort of opinions, especially being the type of person Melinda seems to be, that she's not going to speak up unless she's sure. And she seems to be one that tells nothing but the truth. So I tend to think that they knew right off of the bat for a reason. It wasn't a wild guess. Now, going to go on, Andy said that his sister was the sweetest person that you ever want to know. Again, that seems to ring true. And now, guys, we've gotten through the family says. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack here. Now, let's get to it. Let's start. I'm sorry, allergies are bothering me so bad. Now, let's start at the beginning with some facts. And of course, we're going to get a little commentary, opinion involved in there. So, they're suffering from marital discord to begin with. She's going through having cancer again, financial issues. They make a move cross country from Arcadia, Indiana to Maysville, Salida, Colorado. With all of this on their backs, financial issues, broken marriage, the whole kit and caboodle, and now they're going to a foreign place to them. Now, Suzanne knew absolutely no one there. I can't imagine going through cancer, not knowing anyone, and being away from your family, and oh gosh, how bad. So, especially at this age, I think I just said, when you're at this age, you're thinking about retirement coming in 10 years and, where you're going to spend your life and what's going to happen after the girls are gone, when it's just the two of them, that sort of thing. So, it's very huge and brave to pick up at that age and move. Now, something came to a head while the girls were gone, and I think specifically that weekend. And I'll get more into detail with that. Now, obviously, it started the weekend, hence the text to her sister. So we know that there was something going on. Now, we also have the phone call with her friend that abruptly ended on Saturday. Now, these things are all starting to line up on Saturday. So, there's something going on to get a text on Friday. And wait a minute, there was a lot more that I forgot to mention that had happened. Now, on Friday is when he started the job at the housing development place where he was fixing the little beach area, and he had just graded an area for a foundation. Cement that was going to be poured on Monday. Keep that in mind. So he starts the job there on Friday. Now, they're supposed to work on Saturday. They go to this job after being there all day Friday. They go on Saturday. And Barry's acting weird, according to Morgan Gentile. First red flag. Now, she was assuming she was going to work all day like they had at that site the previous day. But Barry said they were quitting at 11 o'clock after acting weird, and said that he had to go and make the wife happy. Go hiking, biking, something along those lines. Now, putting it all together and looking at it, it wasn't a situation where she was upset about something, wanted to have a discussion with him, wanted to spend the day with him, because look, we've got to block out some time to talk. Mother's Day is coming. Everything's falling apart on us. We need to speak. So he leaves at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Morgan Gentile says that he was seen in town, though, later shopping. So did he go home and maybe an argument ensued and he left and he went shopping for the day. Now, later on, the phone call abruptly ends with the friend. So it makes me wonder, were they fighting all day Saturday? Now, something blew up Saturday night. Something blew up because what time were the Facebook requests sent out? They were sent out very late at night, around midnight. What time was the equipment started up that had awakened the old lady? I didn't mean to say that. I mean like elderly lady. Ooh, we need to edit. And had awoken her, and then it quit after she said, what was it? Somewhere between 15, 30 minutes. So, my wondering here is, did Barry have an abort mission, go out there, start the Bobcat up, get it warmed up for God only knows what reason, and then it goes off? Why did it stop so soon? Did someone start seeing lights coming on in the homes and go, oh shit, we need to stop this and hurry up and turn it off? Because it all just seems like it's fallen into place. The phone call abruptly ending, Facebook things going out at midnight to Andy's friends, who she really wasn't friends with. That sounds like someone who's reaching for straws and picking out the people that they think she might be friends with, that he or she would know to invite that wouldn't look completely off. And around the same time, somewhere in that time frame, this equipment starts up. So can we assume that around midnight, Suzanne was probably deceased at that time? Because somebody was scurrying around by looking at the evidence, I guess you would call it. Now, oh goodness, that would also explain why Barry toted that Bobcat around with him everywhere after that. Makes me wonder, was he afraid to let it go? Because you know that guilty conscience that speaks, and you know you don't want anybody to see it, touch it, because you know in your heart. So I wonder if it was a case like that. All right, now, guys, we are going to start in on after what I think happened. Now, I do believe that Suzanne was probably killed in the home, and also the fact that the dogs did not pick up on her even walking outside, anything like that, not on her bicycle. That makes me believe that she was carried out. So I think that she was either wrapped in possibly one of those landscaping plastics that go under mulch, because I'm sure he'd have access to something like that. Now, also a cooler, because everyone speaks about these coolers that are missing, and to my knowledge, I've not heard of them reappearing. Now, I tend to go with the cooler for a few reasons. The cooler sounds right. If he was stopped by law enforcement, who would think twice? He's a contractor on his way to the job where there's going to be a crew of men and women that they usually bring beverages for to drink throughout the workday. So that wouldn't be too off to see him with a cooler. And also, I'm sure the neighbors have watched him take coolers out a million times. So if there was that rare case of the neighbors being able to see something, what would they see? A typical Barry Morphew carrying a cooler out to the truck, which I'm sure they had seen many, many times. So it sure does seem right to do it that way. So I'm thinking he gets her in something, whether it be like I said, the landscaping tarp or a cooler. He then takes her out to the truck. Now this is just what I'm thinking here, my theory here. He puts gloves on. Hence, no fingerprints on the bicycle, the helmet, etc. So I'm thinking that Barry puts some gloves on. He loads her bicycle and the helmet, because that's the only thing he can think of right now. And probably she may have had plans to do that day. So what better to go with? She said she's going to ride her bike anyway, type thing. So he's probably grabbed her bike and her helmet and threw the bike over the embankment where we saw it. And I believe that's also why the dogs didn't pick up on the bicycle, where they can smell when your body starts to release hormones when you're in fight or flight. Now, the dog didn't sense any of that on the bicycle, the area, and again, it didn't smell Suzanne. So I'm thinking he threw it over the embankment, and I believe that's also why that was the first thing he was screaming about in the beginning. They ruined all the evidence. They ruined all the evidence. That was perfect for him, for him to come out, and that's what he's done. So he's screaming, oh my goodness, her bicycle. Oh gosh, and you're ruining all the fingerprints and such. Barry, you knew there are no fingerprints to begin with. So he goes down the road on 50, takes the helmet and throws it out the passenger window while it landed on that side of the road, and continues on. Where does he go from there? Now, here we go, guys. Here we go. Here is where I'm wondering. Listen, I know that CBI, FBI, and the Sheriff's Office, there's over 12 people working on this case, and with their knowledge and with their training, they have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. So I can't imagine an obvious place like this slipping through on them. I'm just wondering how much they've taken it into consideration. Now, I want you to take a look at this. This is a landfill. This is a landfill that is too close to their home not to look at, but yet it's close enough to where you want to go, interesting. Now, when you think about this landfill, also think about familiarity, because it seems like when someone commits murder and they try to hide it and hide the body, they usually go with what they know. They usually go with what's familiar and seems safe to them. So he would be very familiar with the landfill. Very familiar. He's a contractor, for crying out loud. You know he doesn't burn and can't burn everything. So where does he take it? I would assume the landfill. A lot of contractors use a landfill. A lot of them do. Now also, he could check on this place because he's going to continually come back there with his job in his head. Also, close to the home. I can go check on it if I need to. Just to reassure his mind that nobody has seen it, tampered. So that would be very familiar with him. Now, hang on a second. Take this into consideration too. Look at the adjoining land around it. What do you have? You've got a shooting range. I believe it was an archery range, if I'm not mistaken. And the wildlife, the State Wildlife Park. We're talking about Barry Morphew here. The dude that has the bearskin rug, we're talking about the guy with the elk mounts in his home. This makes too much sense. So I'm wondering if they've even checked it, whether it be with dogs or just poking around. It was closed, obviously, on Mother's Day. Also, it was closed on Sundays, period. And I'm very, very confident that Barry Morphew would have known this. He would have known that they were going to be closed. This place is right off of the road. Right off the road. Quick and easy. In and out. There are access roads that lead into this place from other areas. You don't necessarily have to turn in the main gate to get there. But let me correct myself. I did not see a gate. Let me say turn in the driveway there. There aren't any homes around there, nobody to see. So it just seems like, I don't know, it would be a place that I would definitely check. He may, go there just to make sure that she's down in the debris and they haven't moved it. See if they've covered that hole up. Because with landfills, they dig them, they put a liner in them, and then when they get filled, they cover them back up and then dig another hole and start another one. So, again, he could keep an eye on it. He's very familiar with it, I'm sure. The places that surround it make it seem as if it would be even more familiar to him, considering his personality, his interest, etc. Now, I wonder also if that bobcat starting up wasn't him starting it to put it on the trailer to take it there. But I don't know, I can't imagine him bringing it back. It's possible, bringing it back and then heading out to Denver Broomfield. Now, if you look, also, after dumping, he could just keep continuing forward and go on, right on to Denver/Broomfield. Now, that also is very convenient to me. Now, the job, all of it, made up last minute, obviously, because why didn't he tell Morgan about it Friday? Why didn't he tell Morgan about it Saturday? Hey, be ready tomorrow morning. That was obviously a staging last minute. Oh crap, I gotta get rid of the body and I gotta get the hell away from it as far as I can. So he makes it up last minute, hoping it would serve as an alibi. He had months to do this job, months, but he chose Mother's Day morning for the appropriate day. No permits, no blocks, no appropriate tools. I mean, yeah, it was a whole big stage scene. And then he shows up in Morgan's parking lot. Morgan wakes up because she's very familiar with the sound of his truck. He comes to get her in the mornings. She thinks, oh crap, I'm late for work, jumps up, gets dressed, realizes, hey, wait a minute, it's Sunday, Mother's Day morning. Couldn't have been Barry. Well, next thing you know, the phone rings. Not another coincidence. Of course, it was Barry. Hey, let's get Jeff Puckett and let's get going. We got to do this job. Oh, quick, emergency. So, she says that he sounded as if he had the worst night of his life. Now, hang on, let me back up. When Suzanne called on Saturday, Morgan said that he was not acting right, then that he was odd, a little angry type. So then, come this day, she said he's acting really weird. He acts like he had the worst night of his life. It looks like he may have. The worst night of a lot of people's lives. So, he's acting weird. And her and Jeff get together and say, okay, cool. She tells him, I'll get him. We'll be there. So, Barry panicking. Off he goes to Broomfield. He got there, in my opinion. He rented a room where he knew there were going to be cameras. He knew he was going to be on camera. And he knew that would help serve as an alibi. Now, he also, according to Morgan, he had done very little work while he was there. In other words, he went out to the job site, made it look like he had done something, and then left. Well, he obviously couldn't have done anything. There were no tools there. So or the inappropriate tools. So he goes out there and makes it look good, like he had done something. And then I believe he went back to the room and he took a shower. I don't know if he took a shower before or after. Maybe both. Maybe a while the wet towels. To get the evidence off of him. He knew that in a hotel room, there were people coming and going. How are they going to know that it was him? You know what I'm saying? They couldn't pinpoint it to him in a hotel room. He also knew that. Another thing to consider here we go back to familiarity. What did he do? He went back to something familiar to him again. I think that's going to happen more than once in this case. So he takes a shower, and then I believe that he staged the mail in the trash can, put it there as a, see, I told you so, I was here. So he did that, and I also believe that Barry had been up all night. And from what I have ever studied and watched, people that murder, whether it be a serial killer or a jaded spouse, regardless of what it is, there's also a physical reaction to it. People tremble and they shake really bad afterwards. And I can't imagine the adrenaline that goes through people. So I think Barry got tired and maybe, the exhaustion of, oh, jeez, what have I done, is hitting him, and how am I going to get by with this? And I think Barry laid down to try and get his thoughts together, maybe get a little rest, and there was nothing else to do. What was he going to do? He was supposed to be working out there, so it's not like he can just go and show up at a restaurant and be on camera and have proof of that. So he stayed in this room, and I think he stayed there and tried to plot. And then he waited for the phone call for go time, showtime. He had been setting the stage all night long. And now it was time. I think that Barry also made it very obvious in the beginning when he asked the neighbor after he said, we can't get a hold of the girls, can you go over there and check on her? She came back and said, nobody's there. Is there a bike there? Oh, man, this man wears me out with some of the craziness that he does. Oh, look at my hair now. But, yeah, this guy's so obvious. So, look, he makes really good moves, don't get me wrong, to try and avoid the police. But when your fight or flight response has kicked in, it alters your thinking. You cannot think like a normal person would in a situation like that because it's clouded. And, he's not making rash decisions, obviously. So he's going to make some really big mistakes. And I can't wait to see, the rest of them. What is going to come out on him. The only thing that bothers me is that there may have been some time between, if it wasn't the landfill, he had a lot of time, it seems to me like he had 2 hours to get to Broomfield. If you take from 12:30, just go ahead and add 2 hours onto that. So we're looking at 2:30. Now, this still leaves that man almost 3 hours. So was he at the landfill 3 hours? It sure does. It sure does make you wonder, and it's frightening. I don't think he would have taken the body that far. That's why I'm thinking the landfill. There may have been other pieces of evidence, say, for instance, the gloves, that if they were not discarded of on the way to Broomfield, he made more than one trip by car out to Indiana. So, there's a plethora of places that things could be. I just don't see him taking the body that far, though. That's too risky. And plus, if they were to find it there, near Broomfield, that's going to be even more obvious. but he wasn't thinking. So it's hard to say. I just don't see it happening. Now, guys, I just want to say thanks to you guys for sticking with me. If you made it to the end of the video, whoo, you are a trooper, aren't you? True crime trooper. But thanks, guys. I may have, I don't know, missed a couple things that I wanted to hit on, but I'm sure I'll end up making another video. Again, thanks for the views and the sweet comments on the last video. I appreciate it so very much. And I really thought about taking that thing down. Should I take it down? I want to keep my channel, I don't know how to say it, I guess somewhat classy. I don't want to be too ugly, and I think I kind of crossed the line. Let me know down in the comments. Hey, if you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and make sure you hit your notification bell, because the very random times that I upload, you will know about it. I appreciate you guys. Jill, the private investigator. I will see you soon. Bye.